Hello everyone, this is Julia. Thank you so much for joining me on my craft room adventures. Today, I am here with a fairy card featuring Sunny Studios stamps and dies. I started out by stamping all of my images onto Neenah Solar White cardstock, and I'm using copic markers to color them in. The stamps that I'm using is called Garden Fairy, and those are just so adorable. Aren't these just the cutest? So I'm using E11 as my darkest shade for my skin tone. Then I'm using E00 to blend that out. Then I'm going in with the E11 again just to deepen up the color. Then again blending it out with E00. And then blending that out with E000. Then I'm also adding a little bit of blush with R20. And I'm just using the E000 to blend that out. For my hair, I'm using E37 as my darkest shade, blending that out with E35, then E33, E31, and finally E30. Then I'm going back in with a second layer, just adding some flicks for a little bit more movement in the hair. Again with E35, E33, and I do need to practice coloring hair a lot more, but you know, it takes a while to get it right. So just going over the colors again. Now moving on to my second fairy. For her, I'm using E44 as my darkest shade. Just adding a little part in the center of her hair. Then going in with E43, E41. Then again adding more little flicks with the E44. And blending that out with E40. Again, deepening up the shadows. I'm using BG00 on the fairy wings, and for my green shades I'm using G28 as my darkest shade for this one, and for the others my darker shade is just the G24 because I didn't want them to be that dark. Then blending that out with G21 and finally G20. And the other images, the mushroom, the little caterpillar, and also the little bird, are from the Home Sweet Gnome stamp set, which is also super duper cute. And it pairs very well with the fairies. Then I'm also using the R20. Then for the bottom of the mushroom, I'm also using E40 markers, so E44, E43, and E41. Then I wanted some pink mushrooms, so I'm going in with RV63. And V000. And the V000 because I wanted them to be like pastel colored, so fairly light. Just again with the RV63, V000, and V000. And for the bird up top, I used BG11, BG10, and BG000, but unfortunately I forgot to record this part, I'm sorry. For my fairy dress, I'm using the same pink shades, just starting one shade darker, so the RV66, blending that out with RV63, also using the same shades on the little flower, then with the V000 and V000, going in with another layer. Then I'm using Y11, but that was quite a bit too light, so just the YR23, then the YR11 for the center of the flower, and I wanted the second fairy to have like a purplish dress. So I'm using B66, B63, and B60 for that. I really like this combination for purples. It's like a bluish purple, which I think is really pretty. Then for the flower, I wanted to keep it white, so I just added a little bit of shading with C0, and then going back in with a darker shade just between the leaves with C2. Then I realized that I forgot to color the little fairy's shoes, going in with the same B60 markers. For my background, I'm using Spun Sugar, Shaded Lilac, and Blueprint Sketch Oxide inks. Just blending the colors back and forth. I knew I wanted it to fade from light pink to like a vibrant purple, like the same kind of bluish purple that the fairy has in her dress. So I'm just blending those colors back and forth, and then going in with a Blueprint Sketch, which is like a bluish, like purplish blue. So I'm just bringing the Shaded Lilac over top of the Blueprint Sketch just to add a little bit more purple into it. But I'm also cleaning off my brush in between so that I don't pull the Blueprint Sketch down too far. Just going back and forth, intensifying the color because it was still a little bit too light for what I wanted. I'm adding several layers of the colors. And I just held it at a bit of an angle to see if I liked the intensity and held it up to the colored images, but I knew I needed a little bit more, so just added a little bit more of the Blueprint Sketch. Now I'm adding a lot of splatters of liquid stardust and also of the Blueprint Sketch oxide, just diluted with a little bit of water. Just to add a little bit more interest to the background. And there you can see the pretty sparkle. Then I die cut 3 grassy panels. I use the Slimline nature borders for that. And I just cut them down to size. These are actually quite a bit too wide for the card that I will make, but I figured I could cut them down later and just pick the pieces, like the curve of the edge border that I want. I'm using cracked pistachio and pine needles for this one. I wanted the pine needles just at the very top of the grass borders, and then I also added splatters of the pine needles. For my trees, I'm using the Rustic Winter dies, and I really like those because the trees actually come with like a shadow layer. I colored the back, the like straight piece, just with C3 and C1 copic markers. And then I just layered them so you have really like the white gray tone of like birch trees, which is awesome. Then I cut down a piece of pink cardstock, a little bit of silver glitter cardstock, and then I added my ink blended panel. For my sentiment, I'm using the Loopy letters. I used this on a previous card as well, and I just love them because you can create your own script fonts with those. So I just cut these out of silver glitter cardstock, the same I used for like the layer behind this panel. And now I'm just adding them with liquid glue, slightly overlapping them to spell out the word magical. And I did have a little bit of trouble gluing them down because this glitter paper that I'm using has like a slick coating on the back, so it didn't want to stick down that well, but the glitter is so pretty that I just had to keep trying. Then I needed to stamp the second part of my sentiment so that it would read "Have a magical birth," or "Wishing you a magical birthday." I just used the Blueprint Sketch Oxide to stamp that out. And now I'm just adding my images. I'm adding the little fairy on the flower and the mushrooms with liquid glue, tucking the mushrooms into the grass. Then I also added the little caterpillar and the bird with liquid glue, just flat to the background. And my second fairy just goes on with a little bit of foam tape. Then I'm using the Nuvo Aqua Shimmer pen to add a lot of sparkle and shine, just to the fairy wings and also to the flower and, well, almost everything. Then I'm also using the stardust stickles just on the centers of the flowers and the fairy's hair, a little bit on the mushrooms and the fairy wings and also the butterfly. And that finishes off my card for today. I just love all that sparkle and those super cute fairies and their like magical forest. I think it's just super cute, and I love that you can use those kinds of images, or at least I do. I use them for like any occasion, you know, just add a sentiment that says birthday and it's a birthday card. Doesn't always have to have balloons, right? Thank you so very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Subscribe for more crafty videos, and I'll see you soon. Until then, bye!